There's an old saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But few people have taken that old adage to heart as much as our next guest.
So serendipitous the way all of this occurred. Alex and I were up on a date weekend in Sonoma, and we were drinking wine and eating cheese and blissfully unaware of a lot of the evils in the world, and we stroll into this gallery. And there was one photo in particular of these two boys, roughly my daughter's age, who have these giant rocks strapped to their heads. Alex starts weeping uncontrollably, shaking, thinking that that could be our kids.
They go out and they work, and they get really sad and they cry, and whenever they cry and try to run away, bad things happen, and it's like living a nightmare.
She said, I want to free 500 of these kids. And it was this gigantic, audacious goal, and we're thinking, okay, wow, talk to us about this.
And we said, well, that's $150,000. How are we gonna do that? And she said, I could sell my lemonade.
When Vivienne first started her lemonade stand, she was charging $2 a cup, and we're getting nowhere. She wants to raise $150,000, and we're $81 into it. I said, Vivienne, we're gonna have to do something different because we're not making any headway.
We made it free and pay what's in your heart, and it just started going up and up and up.
And she wants you to make a stand with her for a very special cause.
Yeah, a little girl from the North Bay is fighting against child slavery.
She's making her mark on the world.
I'm Vivienne. I am 9. I have been making a stand for 322 days in a row.
With something as simple as a bar of chocolate or a cup of lemonade, you can reach halfway across the world and help a family out of poverty, help a kid stay in school, and help keep hope alive. What we do makes a difference. What we do with our lives makes a difference. That's a blessing, that what we do matters.
Vivienne Harr may be a little girl, but she has a big, big heart. To quote her, she's turning compassion into action. She's become the voice for 18 million child slaves around the world. Vivienne is the co-founder and CIO, Chief Inspirational Officer, at Make a Stand and its new mobile technology stand. She's the youngest person ever to deliver a TED Talk. She's the founder of a successful bottled lemonade business. At 11 years old, she's already rung the bell at the New York Stock Exchange and addressed the United Nations. To date, the money she's helped raise has freed roughly 1,500 child slaves, and her hard work and dedication has caught the attention of some of the world's most influential people. You'll recognize the names: President Clinton and Twitter co-founders Biz Stone and Jack Dorsey. And to top it all off, she's also, get this, she's her dad's boss. Welcome to Full Frame, Vivienne.
Thank you.
Let me ask you about this. So, your mom and dad are there, they go, they see this photo exhibit. You guys start having this conversation. They obviously were very encouraging, but did you really think that you could do it with the lemonade? I mean, did you think right from the start, or did you think, man, this is a tough task?
Well, when you're 8, you kind of, like, you don't think of all the obstacles in your way. You just see the finish line, and you're just like, yeah, we can do that. And everybody else around you is like, oh, I love the way you think, sweetie. And I'm like, actually, well, what? Isn't it normal? But anyways, so yeah, I did think that I would reach my goal. And, I was really confident about doing it. And I was really, just happy to help the world.
Well, when you say when you're 8, this wise young woman at 11, I can see how those years have made a huge difference. So, so you started out, it was $2 a drink, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then I guess the turning point for you was when you kind of changed the dynamic and said, pay what you want, right? Or pay what comes from your heart. How did you come up with that idea?
Well, like it said in the documentary, we were like $81 into it, and it's been a whole bunch of time, and I'm like, well, let's just make it pay what's in your heart. And so basically we were like, well, that has to work. It's a perfect idea. And actually no one walked away without paying anything. Only a few people did, but then they came back with money, and like it was just amazing. Some people paid like $300, some people paid $120, and some people paid like $1. It's as much as like they had and were gonna give, and it was really awesome because there was these people on their bikes and they were like, oh my gosh, we don't have any money for lemonade, but we are so thirsty. I'm like, it's free, and they're like, really? And they're like, we'll come back, and I'm like, thank you. So it was pretty awesome.
Tell me about your little brother. What role did he play?
He's just played a really big role. He's encouraged me a lot because I just was ready to give up because it was just so hard sometimes. And he's just like, don't give up. This is fun, man. Come on. And I'm like, okay, for you. And so I'm really thankful to him.
So this all starts as we set up in the little bit of video there from the documentary. Your parents are wine tasting, probably the last time they've ever done that. Now all they do is drink lemonade, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they went to this photo exhibit. So let's take a look at, let's hear from the woman who took the photograph that really changed your life and obviously is changing so many other lives right now. Let's listen to her.
So we drove out, which took about a day in this bumpy Land Rover. There was a very small hut on the side of the mountain, and beside it, endless slabs of slate lying on one another. I looked off to the side, and suddenly I saw this lineup of very young boys and girls. They were traversing across the mountain, and then they went all the way down the mountain, and they dropped the stones some miles below at a truck. These bodies of work of slavery are made exclusively to raise awareness in the hope that when someone stands up and sees an image of someone enslaved, that they're going to viscerally be so appalled and so moved by the soul in that image that they will raise their hand to do something. And that's why I do it. There were two boys in particular that were brothers, would hold each other's hands to kind of brace each other while they were going down the mountain. It's a deeply difficult thing to see a kid carrying a stone that weighs more than the child.
Lisa says in that piece, these were made exclusively to raise awareness, but she never could have imagined that an 8-year-old child would say, wow, I'm going to go make lemonade and I'm going to raise this money and I'm going to do this. Have you had a chance to meet her, and what's been her takeaway about this whole experience?
Yeah, we were actually really good friends, and her kids are really awesome. We played a lot at her, exhibits and things. But yeah, I think I'm not her, so I think she, was just really proud, and she was glad that people were helping and standing up and just ready to help. And I'm really glad that, that we did that.
What was it like the first time you two met?
It was awesome. We were, talking about the boys, and she said that they were free and that they lived really hard lives, and that she thought what I was doing was amazing. So yeah.
You mentioned the two kids are free now. I mean, have you ever really, you must want to meet them at some point.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I'm gonna go to Nepal sometime, in the next year or two, because last time I tried, they were having a big festival, so I couldn't go then. But yeah, I really, really want to meet them. And
then Make a Stand, it's not just about abolishing slavery. You also are pretty aware of the ingredients that go into your lemonade. So talk to me about that, and why is that so important?
Yeah, you can't just be selling lemonade to end child slavery while you're making child slavery worse. That would be crazy. So fair trade is super important. And basically what it is where people get paid fairly for what they, what they do. Say someone is selling coffee. Usually someone would pay not a lot. But now with fair trade, people pay a lot for fair wages and things, and instead of, people just being so in poverty that they get into slavery. And well, one of the main things that Paul Rice was talking about is basically that poverty leads to slavery because they're not educated, they're not, you know, they don't have enough money to stay out of it, so they just fall into slavery. And I think that fair trade is a super important way to, you know, help them out of it.
One of the things I like about you is that you can sit on a couch and you can talk to adults like me, which is pretty impressive. You can go and talk at the UN. You can do all these things that, you know, I've never done, which is amazing. And I'm sitting here with this wise old 11-year-old. But one of the things I like, and I want to look at this clip, is that you also talk to kids like your age and kind of have this conversation too, which it has to be a different sort of conversation. So let's watch this clip and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Money and markets alone cannot solve the issue of modern-day slavery. Open conversation about inequality is half of the battle for human rights everywhere.
They don't get much to eat for dinner. They just get like stale bread in the middle of the day.
We're like really lucky not to be slaves, and it's just so lucky that we don't have to work really hard. And
it's so sad because they don't know how to do anything except for work.
It's so amazing that a bunch of lemons and some oranges can make like such like a big change, and it's really nice.
Taste of freedom, taste of freedom, slaves, one cup at a time.
There's so much integrity. There's so much power in this little business called Make a Stand.
So does the conversation have to be kind of framed differently when you're talking to an adult versus a kid like your age, peers? You know, or is it just kind of the same conversation? It doesn't matter.
Those are like some of my best friends. And I was in 3rd grade when I had basically started, and that was actually in my meditation class. So, yeah, it's different when you talk to kids, but it's basically, you know, you're just talking to them, like you talk to adults.
Okay, so we know you're the boss. My kids always say you're not the boss of me, but you really are the boss of your dad. So if you want to tell him to come on out now, you can. He's right over there.
Dad.
Okay. So Eric enters stage left. Pretty remarkable young lady. I mean, there must be days where you just wake up and say, I just can't believe what she's done. And do you kind of feel insignificant compared to what your daughter's been able to do?
Well, thank you for that word. No, insignificant. You said it, and I think that's probably right. Although this is what every dad hopes for. This is what every parent hopes for, is the magic in the child comes out and they do amazing things. And so that's really the takeaway for my wife and I, is that if you really believe in your child and the magic in them, they can do extraordinary things if you stand with them. And we're living that dream.
Talk to me about Stand. How did this come about, and what is it for somebody who's not familiar?
So Stand is a new mobile app that allows anyone to stand with the people that they care about for the causes that they love.
And put their compassion into action.
Thank
Talking
you.
about that all the time.
See, now we know why she ranks above me in the company. It allows you to
You were even practicing like that with me, and then you forget.
I know. I fall to pieces in the interview. So what we wanted to do, Mike, was empower anyone who had seen the story to do it. Human beings have empathy, and they want to do things, and so the technology allows them to just pick a photo and light up the world a lot like she did, and that's why I think the story gets more interesting now.
Now, one of the things that she said to you when she saw this image was that these kids should be out there playing. I just want to go back to that moment in time, because you and your wife are there. I mean, it almost brings a tear to your eye when you think about it. It must have been very emotional listening to your daughter with all this wisdom at such a ripe old age of 8.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back to that moment of how she said it, that kids should be playing, and that compassion is not compassion without action, it actually forced us to pause. And I remember the moment we were like, what did you just say? What did you say? She said, compassion is not compassion without action. And it actually altered our destiny. We were living this life in Marin of, I was making money and happy, and wallet was full, heart was empty.
Actually, you weren't really, really happy, though.
I wasn't? Okay.
Well, you were happy with the money, but you weren't happy with the,
Exactly to my point. Thank you. You said it better than me. Right?
You really can tell she's the boss, can't you?
Right. Thank you for then piling onto that. But you're absolutely right. And look, we did think we were happy. That's a very good observation, Vivienne. We thought we were happy, but when this started and we started following her on this impossible journey, we never knew what happiness was.
And now, it's one thing to take on a project where you can say, okay, I'm here, and an 8-year-old, and you can see that the goal line is here. But this is a goal line that keeps going and going and going, and this is a problem that's been around forever.
Yeah.
Are there discouraging times, or I mean, this is tough, and I want to ask both of you this question, because obviously you have a mission, you know that you've been successful, and yet this continues on.
once you actually figure out what you're doing, you know, like, you know, you're ending child slavery. And I think that even if you're tired or you have a cold, you should just go out there and just, you know, you'll be really glad that you did. So yeah, but times did get discouraging then, but just like I said.
She says it best, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's a tough act to follow. I would say that if you're doing anything worthwhile and you're dreaming big and you're thinking of change, you're going to encourage sort of come up against impossible challenges. You look at Martin Luther King or Gandhi or anyone who did anything worthwhile, and there's always opposing forces. But what's been great is that she's been the one that's picked me up when I'm just like, you know what, I can't do it anymore. Right? Creating a new company is hard, and I just thought, I'm going to throw my arms up and quit. And she said, no, Dad, keep going.
Your concern was that the kids couldn't get out there and play. That they were. Now, you're going 100 miles an hour doing this. Do you still find time to play? And Dad, are you making sure she's still getting out on the swing? And
oh, yeah.
It's okay, all right.
I'm going to Disneyland tomorrow.
Okay. Well,
so it's awesome.
All right. So she's still doing the kid stuff while also changing the world and making it a better place.
Yeah, well, yeah, because she's my boss, she can actually enforce that. But we really want to keep it normal and natural for her and be a kid. She's 11, and this has been sort of thrust upon her, and she's been so gracious about how she's handled it. But we're going to keep it fun. You can change the world and have fun doing it.
Yeah, we're going to go with that one, too. That's terrific. Thank you both for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Now get out there and sell some lemonade. All right, coming up next, to look at another form of child slavery.